Well, good afternoon to everybody and to ladies and gentlemen. And I'm very glad to be here to this very interesting conference. And I was really amazed listening this morning, especially to the speeches of the President LaRouche and the one of the volcanic professor from He Wenping. And also, I was interested in hearing the speech of Professor Ascari, who introduced the Transaqua project that I would like to show and present here. Well, the Transaqua project is perfectly in line with the vision of this conference, which is the dream to fulfill the dream of mankind. Transaqua, as maybe you know, it was conceived more or less about 30 years ago from our firm, Bonifica, and perhaps at that time it was too much innovative project. Maybe at that time nobody was really interested in developing Africa, but nowadays the conditions are really different, and maybe this is the time to get an interesting revival of the project. Maybe we can call it Transaqua 2.0 in order to start the development of this great dream for Africa. Maybe Transaqua is, most of the people thinks that is only a problem of transferring water from the Congo Basin to the Lake Chad. But it's not this the vision of Transaqua. But first of all, everything starts from the problems that are related with the Lake Chad, and from its extinction to actual, and we are going to show which is the actual situation of Lake Chad. Lake Chad was one of the largest endorheic lakes in the world, and maybe the largest in Africa. The lake is situated in the Sahel region at the crossing of the borders of 4 countries: Niger, Chad, Nigeria, and Cameroon. The total catchment area of Lake Chad is very huge, 2,434 square kilometers. And 8 countries, including Algeria, Cameroon, Central African Republic, Chad, Libya, Niger, Nigeria, and Sudan are using the water resources from the Lake Chad. The main inflow of the Lake Chad are flows from the Chari River and Chari and Longoni River, and the main outflows are evaporation and infiltration. For this reason, it's an endorheic lake because it has no flows going to the sea. Chari River and Longoni River are about going from south to north. This is the actual Lake Chad. Endorheic basins have a very unstable equilibrium, as there is no surplus water flowing to the sea. The only outflows are infiltration and evaporation. If water is taken upstream, the lake cannot but shrink. It goes. Okay. Stopped. Oh, no. That's the other one. That's it. Lake Chad always had great oscillations in dimensions due to natural climatic fluctuation. Now, especially in this period of climate changes, we must follow very closely what will be the future of Lake Chad. The increase in population and therefore in water consumption, mainly for irrigation, is added to rainfall decreases. The Lake Chad surface was in 1973 more or less 25,000 square kilometers. As you see, in 2015, it decreased to 2,500 kilometers. while the population within the basin has grown from 8 million people to 30 million people, more or less. Consequences of this drought and drying up of the lake: agriculture development pollution, agricultural development increase, pollution, ecological destruction, and the extinction of rare species have resulted primarily due to the reduction of the lake levels. The economy of the surrounding countries and areas is severely threatened by reduction of the lake surface levels and volumes. Average food production and households' purchasing power have been continuously reduced since the 80s. A humanitarian, ecological, and economical crisis is developing rapidly as the volume and surface of Lake Chad are drastically reduced to an alarming and accelerated pace. It's important to evidence that in this region, now the consequences of this are also all the problems related to Boko Haram, who is really active in this region due to the poverty of this region. How to mitigate the Lake Chad drought? Well, thinking to the problems of the Lake Chad, we have to think to what will be the future. No? And the future, within 30 and 50 years, is very, very dramatic for Africa in a certain way. As you see, it is foreseen a real growth of the population of Africa, which will, from today to the year 2100, will grow of the 400%. So the problem is what will happen when within 30, 40 years we will have the doubling of the population in Africa and also in those regions, the Sahel regions. We heard about today in the following speeches what is the New Deal, let's say, and the optimistic vision of the Chinese President Xi Jinping, no? And we really hope that due to the positive strength of China, they will really success in giving to the world a help to develop. No? And also these regions will have the help of the development of the Chinese. No? And there are a lot of projects that are going on, and Professor Ascari has showed us regarding all Africa, but it is important also to set up and to try to improve the Transaqua project inside the Central Africa, in the middle of the Africa, the part which is more poor and the part where the desert is continuing to take place. The consequences of this is a huge migration towards rich countries, and of course Italy and Europe is suffering of these consequences. Most of the people come from the Sahel region, so I think that Europe has to help to act to improve the project in order to develop all these countries and bring food, agriculture, and fishery as a possibility for avoid poverty in this region. During these years, the Lake Chad Basin Commission, created between the states around the Lake Chad, has really has done a great work in these years to face the shrinking of the lake and for the realization of numerous national and transnational projects to optimize the use of water resources and mitigate possible disputes between the states. What to do next? What will be the next challenges for the Lake Chad Basin Commission? Well, first of all, in the medium term, there are projects that are going on to mitigate the Lake Chad drought. Of course, projects that can sustain the existence of people, improve the efficiency of the water use through also new researches, innovative organization based also on the use of smart technologies to improve efficiency of the system coordination and control. First of all, a very big monitoring system should be set up in order to control what are the consequences of the climate changes and control all the problems related to agricultural use and control what are the consequences of projects, national or transnational projects that are being done in this region. But we can be very much optimistic, but due to the growth of the population, the long-term measures cannot be either than to transfer large volumes of water from the Congo River basin to the Lake Chad. Well, water transfer towards drying up and the lakes are not mere nature conservation measures. Environment and wildlife deserve to be protected, human beings too. A drying in the lake is the proof that the water resources in its catchment area are overexploited in respect with the incoming runoff. To transfer water from adjacent river basins that have surplus water flowing into the sea is a way of permitting to increase water availability, especially for agriculture, in a context of the increasing population and declining rainfall and restore wildlife. When water is short in a given place, either you bring it there or people will migrate elsewhere. Near the Lake Chad, an immense, scarcely populated river basin discharging into the Atlantic Ocean an average of 40,000 cubic meters per second, equivalent to 1,250 billion cubic meters per year, that is 200 times the discharge of the River Main, or 14 times that of the Rhine at its mouth. How much of this volume could be possibly and safely diverted into the Lake Chad has still to be studied. Can we think to a win-win project where all countries involved have their advantages, which is perhaps one of the basic conditions to develop this project? Well, to bring water from the River Congo basin is the vision of this project, of the Transaqua project. To the first Chad region and to increase irrigated agriculture, restore the lake, produce hydropower, and improve inter-African transport and commerce. This is the same slide that you have seen in the previous presentation. A canal could have would have to intercept part of the discharge of the right-hand tributaries of the Congo River and convey them across the watershed between the Congo Basin and the Chari Basin. The diverted flow would reach the Lake Chad through one of the Chari tributaries properly reshaped. A very preliminary estimate gives an amount up to 100 billion cubic meters per year could be diverted. That is less than 8% of the Congo discharge, ensuring this the restoration of the Lake Chad and the irrigation up to 3 million hectares. In its fall toward the Chad, the diverted flow could be used for hydropower production. Along the canal, a road should be provided to become the backbone of inter-African land transport. The hypothesis that the canal could also be suitable for navigation has been made. The idea stemming from the early 1920s have been studied by Bonifica and is presently considered by the Lake Chad Basin Commission as a possible project for the future. The idea of Bonifica is to transfer about 100 million cubic meters of water per year from the Congo River Basin to the Lake Chad and Sahel district. This is the Congo Basin, as you can see. In the red, which is the alignment, more or less, of the canal. The watershed, you cross the watershed and you go into the water catchment area of the river Chari. I have to speed up. What is important to notice that the Transaqua formula is not simply to replenish the Lake Chad, and to give access to drinking water, revival of agricultural activity, irrigation, revival of fish farming, navigable waterway, trade, transport, regimentation of flows, electric power production, river ports, commerce, road connections. This creating a linear economic development system along the Transaqua waterway. Well, the regeneration of Lake Chad natural resources, this is what will be the shape of the lake in 2087. Navigable infrastructure systems, and the characteristics of this project is that it can be realized with modules, through modules. We don't need to realize the whole project at the same time, so we start from the part which is more near to the watershed, and the development of only the first 500 kilometers, more or less, of the canal. The Transaqua waterway is something which is related, which is a combination of situations in order to produce hydropower. We will construct small dams along the tributaries of the river in order also to catch some part of the water for the Transaqua canal. By connecting different lakes with a connecting canal, we can realize a waterway which can have the maximum extent up to 2,400 kilometers, reaching the Tanganyika lake on the east side of Africa. Road connection, as you can see, the Transaqua corridor has an intersection with the Lagos Mombasa Lagos Mombasa Road, which is part of the principal roads that were showed by Professor Ascari in his speech. No? And as you can see, in Mombasa, Nairobi, you know that it is one of the hubs of the One Road, One Belt project. So, yes, I almost finished. No? And it is very interesting to think that this project, the Transaqua project, can become one of the projects that can be developed within the project of One Belt, One Road. Some final considerations. Having for years pursued a dream, time is now to come up for action. From this point of view, what is interesting and new is the fact that the Chinese started to get interest in this project. Now, last year was signed MOU between the Lake Chad Basin Commission and the Chinese Power and Power China, which is one of the big infrastructure companies of China. The scope of the MOU was to start the feasibility study of the lake, of the water transfer project, by trying to construct one of the first elements of the project, which is the so-called Chima Project. Chima Project, I don't have time to explain what it is, but is certainly one of the modules of Transaqua. But Chima Project is only part of it, because Chima Project, developed by the Canadian Chima, is a project only to pump water from the Banji River over the watershed into the Chari River, which is a different vision from Transaqua, which is to construct a corridor along the whole, crossing Africa and bringing development and for all the regions that are crossed by the project. It is important at this point to show that at this point, Bonifica, in front of this, of the sign of this MOU, decided to reach the Chinese, to go to China and to speak with Power China in order to offer the collaboration of Europeans, of Italians and Europeans, to develop jointly the feasibility study. We found a great interest of the Chinese from this point of view, so we signed an MOU, and now we are giving action in order to jointly develop this feasibility project together with the Chinese. This is maybe the first brick of the construction of this important infrastructure in the center of Africa. Thank you.